Welcome back to another episode of the Three Man Weave College Basketball Podcast. I am your host this week, Jim Roots, joined by Matthew Cox and Kai McEwen. We are talking Mountain West. We're headed west. It is an interesting transition year or pre-transition year for the Mountain West before everything goes nuts next off season with the return to the Pac-12. But we are going to give this league one last big heaping of love here on the podcast. It's our preview season, before, the last one before we get into the Power Fives as college basketball fast approaches. Mr. McEwen, how are you feeling? Are you ready to get up in the altitude with these schools?
Yes, of course I am, Jim. A little worried about the season starting in less than 50 days because the preview 4A we do every single summer, it's getting against the deadline now, and I got to really start writing quickly like Sonic the Hedgehog. Matthew, I'm getting a little nervous, but of course I'm excited about college basketball and to talk about the Mountain West.
I do finally feel up to speed. I did like a binge catch up of like previews and ratings this last week. So I feel prepped, kind of back on my feet. But like you, I'll have to go out as Sonic the Hedgehog or what's his right hand man? Tails.
Knuckles.
Yeah,
Oh,
Knuckles.
That's always been a Tails guy.
Anti-hero.
Remember that.
Yeah,
Oh, he's got
it's
two?
definitely a Tails.
Oh, he's got two compadres? I didn't realize that. Okay. It's been a while since I played Sega Genesis. Yeah, love the Mountain West. Grand Canyon, welcome to our discussion today.
Welcome indeed. I've also, Matt, with your discussion of catching up on ratings and everything, the human poll is out from Mr. Ken Pomeroy, the annual Do You Know Ball Extraordinary competition. I knew ball 2 years ago. I did not know ball last year, Kai. So I'm hoping, it's an odd even year type of thing for me. That is due October 5th. Invite everybody to do that. Get your ballots in. Try to help the data. More numbers, more votes is usually better data. So get on Ken Pomeroy's human poll. Check that out if you can. I'm not thrilled with mine, Kai. It's going to be difficult.
See, my problem is I don't get my ratings done early enough anymore, so I'm actually kind of flying blind in a lot of these teams, which I don't like. And that's caused some issues with me in the poll.
Yeah, flying blind is a little stressful. I mean, I'm looking at Cincinnati versus Xavier. Come on. Like they're just throwing the
That's
freaking
easy.
rivalry right at me. Yeah. Well, you think it's easy until it's not, Kai, until it's not. Okay. Yep. Let's get into the pod. We're talking Mountain West. We're excited about it. Last preview before the Power Five, as I mentioned, we've got a little Roots Roundup, some news to catch up on before we get into the conference. And of course, we'll have a couple of reviews at the end, some really friendly ones. Our guy Mikey Pot Pie is back. So, folks, you're going to want to stick around for the review section. Before we do, shout out to Jay Pitty, aka Joe Paskov, for our opening tunes. Hey, he's moving back to Chicago. Get excited, folks. We're going to see him a lot more in our lives. Hooray.
Boomerang. Love to see it.
Yep. Subscribe to the pod on iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, etc., wherever it is that you get it, and leave reviews. We do read the Apple reviews on the show. Those come at the end of the show. Leave a question if you want. Use it as a mailbag type of submission if you so desire. Subscribe to the YouTube channel where we are streaming live at 7 a.m. on Friday morning, 7 a.m. Central, that is. The video is always there to rewatch if you're not listening on apps or you want to see our lovely faces as we go through the not the motions, that doesn't sound right, as we cut through these previews into the season. And of course, a quick plug for the Burner Discord and Basket Under Review, the website we now write our previews for. That is the umbrella under which you may find our writing. Lots of great details there. There's incredible writers. Jordan Majeski's continuing his series, writing up new coaches, new systems. Will Warren's coming out with something new and creative every week. We've got the Basket Under Review podcast with Eamon Brennan and great guests. He just went almost 2 hours with John Fanta. Check that out. That's fantastic. We've got Stats by Will and Jim. That's me, Jim. And of course, the Discord. All kinds of back and forth discussions that you can get there. Great writers, great content. Great discussion. Only $10 a month, the best CBB community that you will find. So highly recommend getting in on that. But now we head over to Roots Roundup, our news and notes section, to recap a little bit of happenings in the past 7 days. But before we do, Matthew, a shout out to sponsor, CBB Analytics.
CBB Analytics, that's right, Jim. The holy grail of college basketball statistics, as we will continue to beat the drum. It is a go-to Bible crutch for us as we crank through these previews. And I can only underscore that farther as we've gotten into the mid-major and soon to come low major ranks where there are more and more D2, D3 guys where their shot chart context is super helpful. Again, can't underscore if you're a coach why you would not be subscribed. But as a fan as well, looking to get into guys that you are coming to your roster, to a team near you, you got to have it. Quick trivia, courtesy of CB Analytics, we're going to make this a weekly tradition. Who was the best mid-range shooting team in the Mountain West last season? And this team was 99th percentile in mid-range field goal percentage. They also took a ton. It was a team that had a somewhat lackluster season. Maybe there's a correlation there. It didn't take great
Fresno
shots.
State.
No, Fresno was the worst mid-range shooting team in the conference.
Okay.
At 27%.
That was my
Matthew?
second guess.
Wyoming was fourth, Jim.
Okay.
Oh,
How about
probably
Nevada?
Nevada. Yeah, you say
Nevada.
lackluster. Yeah, okay.
They had some mid-range assassins again. Kind of a weird team, just didn't really work. I think they had some NIL tiffs, but again, just the shot chart breakdowns. I love the distance shot charts. You can break down the shooters and then the super shooters, the guys that make it from 28 feet and beyond. And then also like the corner threes and wing threes. As you go through, you see more like the fun, stark, like, oh, this guy likes the right wing, this guy hates the left wing. It kind of harkens back to when you're a player, you have your own hot spots on the floor. Players have that too. I think that's actually a very nitty gritty feature that some of these coaches look as they design their offense. Anyway, you should be subscribed. Use our promo code WEAVE, WEAVE, get you $40 off. And coaches, let us know. Contact us directly for access to the Holy Grail Pro tier. Thank you, Nick and team at cbbanalytics.com.
Well said, Matthew. All right, key headlines, boys, over the last week. The first one, and I kind of went editorial decisions here on the order, but all the 18 Big Ten teams are now eligible for the Big Ten tournament and will participate this season. Last year it was only 15. We have gone to another participation award here. Kai, I'm a little bummed. I liked that you got rewarded for not being terrible during the season, and it created some tension towards the end of the year with standings, almost like promotion relegation at the end of the bottom of a season in English soccer or European soccer. You had three teams trying to avoid missing it. Last year, Nebraska was in the NCAA tournament bubble and then missed the Big Ten tournament. I liked that added tension. I'm going to miss that element. How do you feel about this change?
I kind of like it. I'm sorry. I like that everyone makes the tournament. Yeah. Yeah, because then you don't have to. You can literally say, hey, everyone's got a chance at the NCAA tournament, right? You all make your conference tournaments. Go play. And I like the upsets. Not that there are ever any with the 18, 17, 16 teams of the Big Ten, but Nebraska, hey, take them for example. Maybe they make a run. They were actually good last season. Yeah, I'm for it. Why not?
You and your participation trophy generation, Kai.
Yeah,
Makes me sick. Kai, what do you think? Or Matt, what do you think? Excuse me.
I don't know. I kind of like having a cutoff. If you're one of the bottom three, you don't deserve to be there. But then maybe that also incentivizes like player quitting. Like if you have no postseason and you're in the bottom rung, you might really mail it in if you're, you might be peeking around the portal opportunities a little earlier. So I don't know. I like trying to incentivize kids to stay engaged for a full season. It's not a long season. We can just stay engaged for 1 year. So any way to do that, I'm not sure this is the right solution. I'm kind of torn, Jim. I don't know.
An interesting little nugget to this is that Nebraska, who we are mentioning here, did not make the Big Ten tournament. They went and won the crown. So, they didn't roll over and die on their season. It did help that a lot of their best players were fifth-year veterans and had no other recourse, like Bryce Williams and Juwan Gary weren't transferring. So they left it all on the floor in Vegas. But yeah, we've got all 18. Great Asabor. Sorry you didn't get to play in a Big Ten tournament. That's too bad. All right, the next little bit of news here. Queens and Elon are merging. Kai, Quilon, as we will now talk about them going forward. One team from the ASUN, one team from the CAA. Elon used to be in the SoCon. But it will be operated as Elon operating Queens at the conclusion of the merger per their release. I don't really know how this is going to work out athletically. Does like Queens just shutter its doors in the ASUN or what happens? We're still waiting to find that out, but this is odd.
I thought I read that they're both keeping their athletics separately, which is weird.
That's strange.
Yes. I don't know how they do that because we saw this a little bit with LIU, right? LIU Post and LIU Brooklyn kind of merged. Queens and Elon, yeah, I hope they stay separate because Queens is now getting all this momentum as like an ASUN contender coming up from D2. And why move up to D2 if you're just going to merge with a different school? I don't get the behind the scenes stuff, but hopefully they keep separate. That's my only wish for the merger.
Yeah, I don't want to lose the Royals as a mascot, Matt. That's a
Yeah.
good one.
No, it's a great mascot. Royals or Monarchs, Jim? What do you prefer?
Mm. Royals.
I just
Probably
went through the Sunbelt yesterday. I was like, man,
Monarchs.
Old Dominion has such a cool like
Name.
brand with the yeah,
Yes,
just like
yeah,
the
the
big
the
lion.
coloration,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's cool.
Yep, unfortunately. A very regal creature, a lion, Matthew, king of the jungle, as they say. Yes, kind of an odd merger there. But coaching news. This happened about 3 hours after we finished recording last week on Friday. So naturally, that's how the Friday news dump goes. But Wofford fired Dwight Perry for some of the most laughably tiny violations. Some said vacations ever. Right after Wofford made the NCAA tournament, which is just kind of baffling. The reports from Jeff Goodman are that six players were potentially going to be suspended for benefits ranging from 84 to $108. That's total. That's complete all in. I think it was like some housing confusion on who was paying for what and how it was getting broken down. The NCAA has denied posting or levying any suspensions. I believe Goodman reported that six players were suspended by the NCAA. It sounds like might be more the university, kind of like CYA covering its butt type of thing. Kai, this is weird and dumb. And once again, the little guy feels the weight of the hammer more than any of the big boys.
Yeah, I don't know the Perry behind the scenes. I don't know if he deserved to be fired. I don't know if there was a misappropriation of funds, maybe. I don't know. But the players getting suspended, what are we doing? We are past the point we suspend players for quote unquote impermissible benefits in the NIL era. That's over. And we're not doing it to any of the big names. Wofford gets hit for some reason. It's crazy to me this still exists. Now, the NCAA's denied it, like you said, so maybe it's just a university thing. Even if it is, that's still silly, in my opinion. I'm hoping it's not an NCAA thing. And it's so easy to defend these days. Just sue them, and they'll back right off. Apparently, that's the
Yeah,
solution to
right.
everything.
Yeah, take him to court. Not the most illustrious place for the NCAA in recent days. Yeah, Matt, I think it had something to do with the speculation in the burner Discord was, or Basket Review Discord, I guess, branded now, was that it was paying for housing. They didn't have enough on-campus housing, and transfers commit after on-campus housing is done and filled. So they were routing money to players to pay for their off-campus apartments, and like when you could just give it to them through NIL and then have them pay for it, they were cutting out the middleman, and that became impermissible. That was my gathering and my read
Right,
on the
right.
situation, which is absurd and not fireable. But hey, here's Wofford.
Yeah, no, the whole thing's dumb. Sucks. It's just like the school that had the not ironic, I guess, but weird that Dwight Perry got elevated to his position because of a falling out, and then now he is the door hits him in the behind for something that's so minor and petty, and frankly, by the book, obviously illegal, but like not really illegal. The end result should not be illegal. The path to the end result, I guess, was where they got busted. So
Yeah, I'm glad
stupid.
you referenced that. The previous boss at Wofford, Jay McCauley, was fired because he was going over their practice time, their allotted practice time. That was his violation. Wofford fired him for that. Now they're firing Dwight Perry for this, and just clearly a no nonsense program administration, and the basketball program suffering a little bit for it. Will Mike Young return there? Ooh, that's the
That would
question.
be kind of
That
cool.
is the
No,
question.
Wofford doesn't deserve that. I'm kind of out on Wofford having
Yeah, yeah,
a
I'm with you.
resurrection. I'm fine with their failures to come, if that's so to speak.
Hey, that's all I got for the roundup, fellas. Which means we get to talk a lot more Mountain West. We've got 12 teams this year. That's right. Welcome to Grand Canyon, as Matthew referenced in the intro. The Antelopes finally playing on like a level playing field. They were the big bad bully on the WAC playground, and now they're stepping up and going out to recess with the adults in the Mountain West. I'm kind of excited for that. I think that's where they belong. But it is a swan song for this league given the current structure. San Diego State, Boise State, Colorado State, Utah State, and LOL, Fresno State are going to the Pac-12 next season, which creates a major shift in the membership here. Kai, it's been a great league recently. Four bids, six bids, four bids, four bids over the last four seasons. Does it have the same depth? Are you going to miss the current alignment? Tell me how you feel about the Mountain West before we really break down the teams.
Yeah, I like this league. It's always sneaky better than everybody thinks. I know the recent narrative has been these teams are overrated in analytics every single year, and they get too many teams in the tournament. They end up not doing very well in the tournament. And yeah, that's been true to a certain extent. San Diego State just had that Final Four run a couple years ago, which kind of quashed a lot of that discourse. But it's a fun league. It's a home court advantage league. A lot of these teams just have really tough places to play because of the altitude, because of the travel issues. I will miss the current iteration of it. This season, boy, it does feel a little bit down across the board, especially right after the first couple tiers. It drops quickly, and then the bottom is just disgusting this season if we're just taking a 40,000-foot view.
Yeah, if I'm
I
being
actually think
rude,
the
I'm gonna throw this claim out there, Matt. Is Air Force the least talented Mountain West roster ever?
It's bad.
Yeah, I haven't dug into the Jim. I know they have what 25 freshmen usually on their site, and I have not gone through all of their tape in detail yet, but it looks on paper just they were supposed to be good last year and they weren't.
Yeah.
So like next year, kind of dicey. I feel bad for Joe Scott. We talked about this. Air Force does not belong in this league. Like the fact that they
Nope.
compete in football is insane at this level. Um, like that requires more dudes, but they have more of like a historical cachet with football. And I think that just generally maybe it's more of a better recruiting fit. Basketball, you only got to find five guys, but they don't have the same money. I just don't think the kids have any. It's just like academy school versus real NIL powerhouse program. It's just not a fair playing field.
Yeah,
Kai, I
like
think
maybe
some of the
maybe an
other
Army or the
bottom teams
Patriot
aren't as
League.
bad though.
Yeah.
We'll talk when we get to those. I think the rest
Oh,
will roll.
okay. Natty Optimist. I like that. I'm excited for it. Because yeah, I'm a little more with Kai where it feels like the bottom is not very strong and there's some landmines there. The way we talk about the A10 a lot, like their prevention on getting more bids, is that there's teams that can beat them that aren't actually good enough to
Yeah.
be a big win, sort of thing. And we'll see if that's really the bottom of the Mountain West or if it's just four teams that the top can really pummel, which it kind of traditionally is, where that bottom group never pops up and beats the upper half. But we'll see if
The
that's
other
not the
to
case
Kai's
this year.
point about San Diego State, like they've only had they had that run. San Diego State went to the Sweet 16 in 2014. Musselman got there in 18 at Nevada, but like that's been it. Like there's been no, this is kind of to the point, not just the Mountain West's first round was they have not had many deep runs at all outside of the Aztecs. So it's just been kind of like there's been a branding perception issue with this league, unfortunately. Too
Yeah,
many
and
deep runs.
there's been and I've kind of cited it as we've gotten into March Madness a few years, but teams that play at elevation have typically been really terrible in the NCAA tournament, both straight up and against the spread. And obviously, a lot of this league is elevation based. San Diego State is not. And so it's like, all right, can I connect the dots here and say that those teams are getting a little overvalued because of the strength of their home court? I sort of think that ends up being the case, but it could all just be circumstantial and small-ish
And they've
sample, although we
also
kind of think.
changed some of the policies, right, for teams going to certain locations in the tournament where it used to, I think a lot of times the West Coast teams, many times were kind of shipped off to crappy locations at crappy times. So like they were kind of, it felt like against, sledding uphill, I guess, in the tournament, which is the playing field's been leveled a little bit, but still like, the 2014 thing, right? Six bids, some embarrassing efforts and kind of perpetuates the same narrative. So we defend the Mountain West, but we will not ignore the facts as they exist in front of us.
Yeah, I mean, like, how good has Leon Rice been at Boise State, and he's never even looked at
I
round
know.
two. So it's kind of a type of situation. But let's go team by team, fellas, as we typically do on this program. Let's talk in order of tiers, and then just teams within that tier. And you can, as we go, differentiate or disagree with the way I have set up the tiers, whether in order within the tier or if just a team belongs up or down. But we're starting with tier one, and that is a one team tier for me. It is San Diego State. I've labeled them semi-loaded. I think you could go all the way to call them loaded if you wanted to. They've got two awesome defensive weapons in Magoon Guath and Miles Bird. They got a lot of lineup options and depth. Like you go down to Jeremiah Oden as like their ninth player who is a part of a really good Wyoming team like 3 years ago in this exact conference. They've got two four-star freshmen. The questions, Matt, can they find an efficient offense without Nick Boyd running the show? He was great last year and they still were inefficient. Is Sean Newman the answer? Is getting Reese Waters back the answer from injury? BJ Davis's development. What are you looking at with the Aztecs, Matthias? I'll let Kai bring the hammer on a team he's very high on in our top 50 voting. But Matthias, what are you looking at with the Aztecs?
Yeah, depth is the key story here. Like even Dutcher talked about, he's almost worried about how much depth he has. He kind of foresees there'll be some guys who will be unhappy, and I think he's sort of not looking forward to dealing with that. But it's a good problem to have. And most teams, especially this season, we've talked about, just don't have the same depth on average that you had last year. Especially in the wake of last season when the Techs were good, but just kind of injured and brittle, and frankly young. This year they're older and they're deeper, and I think their floor is super high. But also, I think there's even that higher ceiling with getting water. I think Waters is really the key to this team. I think they need a more. I love Nick Boyd. I just didn't think he was the same last year. I just don't think he was as dynamic as I thought he was early at FAU. I think they have a little more scoring pop with Waters there, and I know we're all still very high on BJ Davis. At least I haven't sold any of my shares.
Yep.
He wasn't awesome last year. He was really good, but just I think they need him to take more of a step toward like a Lamont Butler type player. Maybe not that good, but like he needs to kind of be a guy that can bend the defense. And then Kai Magoon and Farrell Compton up front, super talented, raw, like, but that's where the upside lies. I mean, could we kind of forget that Compton was like a huge recruit?
It was.
Like Goons kind of overshadowed him now with his hype. But both those guys, mega upside for sure.
Yeah, if you count Waters, I mean, they essentially have four starters back, and then the fifth guy there is Pharaoh Compton, who you mentioned. He was one of their highest recruits, I think, ever in program history. Top 100 guy, 4-star. Wasn't exactly the impactful player I thought he'd be last season, but I think there's still potential. And then Jim mentioned Bird and Guath. They're all defense last year. Bird's one of the best, maybe the best two-way player in this league. His impact is crazy on both ends. Magoon Guath is only going to get better and better. We're all in on BJ Davis taking a leap, and I like the additions for what they are in Newman and Latrell Davis. Scoring pop off the bench. That's what this team needed, was scoring. A little injection is a good thing coming off the bench here. We know the defense is going to be elite. It was 16th last year. It's been 11, 4, 2, 21, 10 the 5 years prior. So, Jim, as this team, I think it's a top 10 defense, and I think they're going to get back in the top 75 on offense. That's like a top 15 team in KenPom.
Yeah, I'm definitely on board with the top 10 defense. I have a hard time seeing them be like much worse than that with Guath getting a little bit more physical, more used to the speed of the game. He redshirted as a freshman because he was so raw. So like the development curve is really rapid for him. And yeah, Bird is a freak defensively. Like he can't really shoot, and the NBA still entertained him this offseason because he's that good of a defender. He almost stayed in the draft process. It's just pretty loaded, like 1 through 10. You've got lineup options. You can try to go more offense heavy if you play Newman, a really brilliant passer with some of the more shooting strong lineups that they have. It's just it feels really high floor to me, and the ceiling certainly depends on the offense and whether Waters and Davis can really ramp up the scoring pop.
I mean, even like Majak, their 7-footer, like got some ink last offseason. He's like number 8 off the bench. They have two other top 100 or 4-star freshmen we didn't even discuss. I mean, this team is like very deep. Like to Dutcher's point, maybe too deep. But again, if you're a coach, who cares? Like that's a good problem to have by February.
Yep. Yeah. If a guy gets hurt or all right, probably going to have a guy transfer out. That's how it works these days. So pretty loaded roster for the Mountain West, and the Aztecs should be, we think, the clear favorite, Kai. I believe we have
Yeah.
each
No
invested in
question.
the
The
Aztecs to
biggest
win the
1 to
league.
2 gap, I think, the last 5 years. I went back and looked at my like preseason rate. I mean, it's very clearly the Aztecs.
Yep, I'm with you. All right, so next in tier two, I have firmly in the hunt for an at-large. That's how I'm categorizing these two squads. I'm starting with Utah State, and then we'll get to Boise State in a second. Utah State is the best player of this group. Mason Falslev is a stud. They've got a bunch of other contributors back, though none were really that good. Like I'm not writing home about Drake Allen or Tucker Anderson breaking his way through a stretch 4 season, or Matt, your boy Tempsey, Carson Templin,
He's
roaming
coming though,
around in the
Jim.
paint. But they are very well coached. Jared Calhoun is smart. He succeeded at a tough place in Youngstown, and then won right away at Utah State. I love the Gary Clark ad, and there's some interesting buy low guys here. My question, Kai, is the zone last year was like kind of all the rage with them. And it seemed like teams figured it out a little bit as the season went. They were not as good down the stretch, which is the opposite of how Northern Kentucky was. And it was an NKU guy, assistant, coordinating that zone. NKU's always better in league play. I just worry that there was some smoke and mirrors to that. And I don't know if this roster is suddenly like an awesome man-to-man team.
And I'm not totally sure it's not a better roster than last year, but this
Mhm.
program is just such a juggernaut now. It's crazy to me. An amazing year one, but this program has made 3 straight NCAA tournaments with 3 different coaches. at the helm. That has to be unprecedented. I don't know another example, especially in the Mountain West. Like, this is not a power conference team. Yeah, Falslev, obviously he's the headliner. I like Drake Allen. I think Tucker Anderson's going to be a much better shooter. He was a lot better at Central Arkansas. I think the step up was a lot for him, and hopefully maybe in year two he gets a little bit better. I like some of the additions, Matt. Remember MJ Collins?
I know. I was saying
That
Collins
guy.
is there. Yeah,
Wasn't he
he'd
like
be
a
a guy.
top like 100 recruit back in the day?
4-star, I think. Yeah.
Didn't do a whole lot at Vanderbilt or maybe in Virginia Tech, but yeah,
He'll brick some mid rangers for you. He'll
yeah.
brick some mid rangers.
This is my number two team as well, Matthew, by a hair, and I agree with the tiering.
I agree. It's a really smart coaching staff. I think last year, if you look at, there's a lot of good coaches in this league. With the departure of Medved for Colorado State, now that staff's really smart too. We'll talk about them soon. But this is like, I think maybe the uh, smartest guys in the room. And I'll say with all due respect to a couple of like Leon Rice and Dutcher. So I think that's sort of the crux of why we have them where we have them. The roster is definitely worse than last year, but I think there are some kind of under the diamond in the rough type guys. Kyle, you mentioned Collins. I think Keller from Utah. And Jim, you're right. Clark, I don't follow the South on that close, but he looks like a pretty decent piece. And Drake Allen was probably their better point guard last year. Like they lost Albury, but I kind of like Allen, frankly, as the guy they brought back. The zone thing was weird, Jim. I mean, I don't. You're right. I think it's going to be they're going to have to replicate some unpredictability, some element of surprise that they had last year that they won't have this season. But Calhoun's just good, man. Again, it's a bet on the coach. And to Kai's point, the program is like VCU. It's just every year, it's just good. Like you can't, why overthink it?
I'll throw out a little caution. They were the seventh best defense in the league last year, 150th nationally. Like the zone really stopped working. It just was not
The last
great
month,
for
really,
them.
yeah.
Yeah, and also last year was their worst Ken Palm rating in the last 7 years. Like they fell out of the top 60, still managed to get in the NCAA tournament because they won the right games. I think if we're all in agreement, and we are, that this roster is worse than last year, there's a chance they're like 75th. They were 61st last year. Like that's not a completely outrageous thing to say, and that doesn't put them in the at-large range, and it makes them, like Kai said, almost equal with team number 3 for me, which is Boise State. Leon the professional, Maddie, that's what I'm calling him. Leon Rice on the sideline. Outstanding coach, just workmanlike every year. They've been in the top 50 for 4 straight years at Boise State. That's really hard to do. They've got some serious personnel losses with Degenhart, your boy Degenhart, and Alvaro Cardenas. But they got a lot of contributors back from a team that, like I said, was in the top 50. You had Dylan Andrews, Drew Fielder, seemingly two good kind of like projects from P5s that were contributors, but maybe not quite up to their potential at prior stops. And I trust Leon Rice. So, Matthew, where do you land on Boise? Do you think they're better than Utah State? Talk to me.
I think it's a coin flip, and on paper, it's hard to. I think you want to take Boise, right? You see guys' names back, you see Dylan Andrews. Oh, UCLA, like guy that I think we almost ranked in the top 100 in our player ranking. So I think my first gut is Boise, but then I'm like, I don't see any more upside from a team that really just kind of like really maxed out last season. This team was very unathletic, frankly. I thought when I watched them last year. I think they lacked some speed and some dynamism. Not that Utah State had a ton of that, to be honest, but that's my kind of concern. I think Andrews is huge. And I also think Javon Buchanan is like my X Factor breakout pick. I think he's going to be really good. I think he has to be like maybe this team's second or best player for like a tournament at large thing to pop. Because I'm with Jim. Like I don't feel like at large for Utah State or Boise. Like I would say they're both dogs to be an at large this season. Like I think just statistically one of them will probably get there, and maybe one of the other teams we'll talk about later. But I think both are closer to that maybe 60, 75 range, not like top 50. I don't see it.
Yeah, I agree. The league is down. I do have them right next to Utah State. You can flip a coin, like Matt said. But yeah, in addition to top 50, 4 straight years, Leon Rice outperformed Ken Palm 10 out of 14 years, 69 and 25 in the Mountain West the last 5 years. He's been incredible, and no one really talks about him. I think Andrew Meadows is a good player. He's back. He's their starter. Pearson Carmichael, rising sophomore. There's a little bit of potential there.
He was so good down the stretch, and I think he's got big time. He scored. I'm looking at 25 points per 100 possessions. Like he can score.
He was on the
They're
cover.
supposed to redshirt him, and they had pulled the red shirt because he was too good in practice. So like they played him.
Lindy's magazine, if you care, he was one of the guys on the cover recently for the West version. Yeah, he was the mid-major guy they chose. Weird.
Really?
I agree. Yeah, kind of strange. I love the Andrews edition. I think Javon Buchanan. I agree with Matt. This guy was like Player of the Year in AIA. I think at least first team All American.
He looks good.
I
Eye
think he
test
has a
guy.
lot of potential. I'm in on this team, but I agree. It's very they could be a dog for not large. I agree. That's basically where they are. They're teetering on the edge.
Yeah, I can't quite Ewing theory my way through Cardenas and Degenhart. Like Degenhart was
Yeah, he's really good.
unbelievable last year. Mega matchup mismatch, super efficient, and Cardenas was top 15 in the country in assist rate. And I don't think you're getting that from Dylan, sort of erratic Andrews, who Mick Cronin essentially said, I'm sick of you. I want an actual good point guard. Give me Donovan Dent. So a little bit concerning, but there's talent here. There's consistent winning. There's a great coach. Hard to knock them too far down. I do have a tier break after Boise State, and this is where it gets real kind of the mush. I'm not sure what order to go in here. You guys can really take your pick, both Kai and Matt and the listeners. I will start with number 4 in tier 3. That is UNLV for me. It's a lot of talent in the first year for Josh Pastner. I think he's never been like a great ceiling raiser, but with talent and in a league that isn't, going to blow him away with a ton of elite coaching outside of your Dutchers, your Rices, and your Calhouns, I think he can be competitive here, Kai. I like Dre Gibbs Lawhorn. I love some of the other additions that they've got on this roster. I think there's talent, athleticism. Does it all come together? Do they realize that potential? That's where I'm a little more shaky.
So I have UNLV right behind Grand Canyon, actually. Not to spoil anything, but yeah, hard to believe it's been only 2 years, by the way, since Josh Pastner's been out of the game. It feels like he's been out way longer than that, but no, just 2 seasons removed from Georgia Tech. So Kevin Kruger, did he do a good job? He got 4 years at UNLV, and I know Matthew's a Kruger guy. He was
He
never
was
really
fine.
that bad. He
I know.
never
He got too much flack, I think.
he
A little
literally
too much flack.
never underperformed. He never underperformed his KenPom rank. Last year he tied it, his preseason rank, and they never finished outside the top 100. What are the expectations right now for UNLV? Are they early 90s? Like this is not terrible. They're always, I think, better analytically than I perceive them. I always have them underrated compared to their analytical ranking for some reason, and maybe that's performance in non-con not going too well, and they make a run in the Mountain West. I don't know. I agree with Jim. Lots of transfer talent coming in. Gibbs Lawhorn was a big recruit for Illinois. I like Kamani Hamilton a lot because I was a big High Point fan last season. We'll see about the other guys. Pretty good talent, but I think it's a very like TBD team, Matthew.
Yeah, but Gibbs Lawhorn I love. I mean, Miles Che, like I think I mentioned this a few pods ago. Like, I looked at some rosters across sports, like, oh, this is kind of a fun roster. And Kamani Hamilton, I think, is a fringe pro flyer from High Point. I see him on a couple NBA scouts mentioned like dark horses to watch this year. Like, he's got a real skill set as kind of that quasi wing guy, more of a four, I guess. But and then Steven, like, he was a freak going in Arizona. I think Arizona fans were like excited for him to play, and he just never got on the floor because Arizona always has a million big guys. Certainly erratic and raw, but like he's a holy cow, rim rocking, physical specimen type guy that could certainly pop. I think the upside here for UNLV is higher for sure than Boise and Utah State, but it's hard to pick them in good faith over Leon Rice and a Jared Calhoun coach team who know the league, who have a clear identity, and Josh Pastner, who we haven't seen coach. Although I like Pastner. I think I'm in on Pastner. I just don't know what I'm getting with a brand new staff, a brand new operation. But there's for sure upside, like to go second in this league. I can't see them beating the Aztecs, but I think a second place finish is not an entirely crazy proposition given the talent they have.
Yeah, real wide range of outcomes, I think, for the teams I have ranked 4, 5, and 6, and that starts with UNLV. Matt, you mentioned Miles Che. I think he's just like a winner MFer kind of guy. Like
Good
he'll make
winning
some big
piece,
shots. And
ancillary piece.
he's
Yeah,
a really good defender. And you mentioned Steven barely playing because he was buried at Arizona. And Naz Cunningham was the 13th guy at Alabama, but he was a top 50 recruit. And he ended up redshirting. That's more upside, more talent, a nice gamble that you can potentially unlock. And I just think they've got enough pieces here where something will come together, but there is a downside scenario where it just doesn't work and it doesn't go well. And Kai, then they're just wishing they still had Kevin Kruger, like you said.
Yeah. Hey, I don't know.
it seems
Next
like
up,
Kruger did a lot of like he had like a really good run every year, but it was sort of like in this dark age of the season where no one was paying attention. It didn't
Exactly.
really matter. So like it's kind of like empty calorie overachievement in a weird way. I don't know.
He's a good stats, bad team coach.
Yeah, right. He knew how to juice his Ken Palm pre to post projection curve, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's go to the next team. Kai, you mentioned it, Grand Canyon, the team I have slotted fifth. You have them narrowly ahead of UNLV. I think that is an entirely acceptable opinion. I have them rated exactly the same in terms of a betting power rating. The Lopes are rising. Lopes rising, I believe, is one of their hashtags to a level that they belong in. They're rising in conference. It's a pretty impressive roster again, man. With Dennis Evans back from his health scare and bringing in Demeril, that giant Turkish guy, they've got size, athleticism, scoring, a returning point guard, Makai Williams. I don't really know what they're missing. Is it like awesome enough talent to rise up to the top of the Mountain West in their first season? I'm not quite sure. But Kai, I think there's a lot here, a lot to work with. And again, they have sort of a wider range of outcomes with Bryce Drew in a new conference.
Yeah, fun looking back context wise last season. Now, I think Grand Canyon underachieved last year. So their final Ken Palm rank last year would have been eighth in the Mountain West, which I think it was more so expected like, hey, this is probably a top 50 flirtation team last year. That
Yeah,
was the
people were mad at
expectation.
us we didn't have them in the top 50 in
Yeah,
the preseason.
because Tyon Grant Foster they didn't have a great year. But there is talent on this roster. Major turnover, but I do like Makai Williams coming back. He is their rock at the point. And then Brian Moore, man, he just won the Lou Henson Award at Norfolk State, best mid-major player in the country. He was a prolific JUCO guy. He was a first-team All-American. He was solid at Murray State, and he was great at Norfolk. Dusty Stromer was a top 74-star guy from Gonzaga. Owusu Anane for Brown. That guy was really good in the Ivy. Matt's bespectacled wonder, Wilhelm Breidenbach. Come on. There's lots to like about this team. I am a fan of GCU, and I would actually have them closer to tier one, or tier two with Utah State and Boise State.
Good that we talk about this team after UNLV. I think well embedded moles that they're going to try and use Jaden Henley as kind of a point forward. Because my question mark with this team is like point guard. Because like I like Makai Williams. I don't know if he's like I love like, but I think Henley's going to do some point forward stuff, which UNLV did work. That was kind of part of their. That's what helped them play better. They lost Thomas last year. They were much better defensively, and he was kind of a unique, longer look. I kind of like that if GCU replicates that to a point, because they are really talented all across the board. I mean, God, if Dennis Evans comes back and is good, even Jim's boy Breidenbach, I think he's been shooting really well apparently. So there's depth here. Question for both of you. I like that we're talking about these two teams or these four teams in two pairs, the UNLV and Grand Canyon pod versus the Boise and Utah State pod. Like if you had to bet on one pod, right? The high range, high variance pod or the small variance pod, what would you bet on as like kind of a couple dance partners there? I think I take the high variance pod. I think I'm more net bullish on the take some shots versus the kind of high floor, low ceiling of Boise and Utah State.
I'd stay conservative. I'd take the Utah State Boise State pair. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with Kai. Never go broke taking a profit. I think those two solid teams, like I can't really imagine either of them being truly bad, like outside top 75. Whereas I could see it getting a little messy with Grand Canyon or UNLV. So
Yeah, the Revs.
I'll let
Maybe.
Matt have his lottery tickets. I respect it, Matthew.
Yeah, I'll gamble. But yeah, I like there was good sequencing of team discussion. I think those four teams will be vying for like the number two spot. So I'm curious of the two little pods there who emerges.
The next three teams I'll still have in the UNLV Grand Canyon tier, but maybe a half step down. And two of them have new coaches. One has Nevada, who was kind of all over the place, as Matt sort of alluded to last year. New Mexico has Eric Olin taking a charge in Albuquerque. Really good year at UC San Diego. It brings a couple of steady pieces with him, not their standout pieces, but steady. They played a bunch of zone, helped him force turnovers last year. Chris Howell is a like demon defender. I am really buying Kevin Patton Jr. I liked
Yeah.
him on tape at San Diego. He got buried at USC last year. I don't think he's a Big Ten player, but he could be a good one in the Mountain West. Matthew, New Mexico, how long does it take Olin to build this up? Can he win in year one, or is this going to be a little bit transition-y?
I don't know. I do worry that obviously he's a great coach, but there was something truly special about the way the stars aligned with that team last year. But I look back 2 years ago, he was really good 2 years ago too. Like I don't think last year was just a fluke. I think I'm giving him kind of like with Dusty May, we defended how like he was actually a lot better before he made the Final Four run than people realize, and I think it's what gives you more confidence to bet on him at Michigan. That's my Olin narrative here. I think he's just a really good coach with more success before the one, hallmark year. Weird roster,
I
just a
believe
ton.
they were like top two in D2 the year that the season got canceled too. They were like 30-1
That's right.
before
Yeah,
it came up.
yeah.
Yep.
I mean, they threw a bunch of crap at the wall, Kai. A lot of international guys.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, I think the key really is Chol, their top 10 JUCO big guy, because defense will certainly be a question mark. I know that they have Howell, but outside of that, it's a very skill shooting based roster as you'd expect with Owen, which they kind of masked last year with length in that funky zone to kind of negate some of the athleticism deficiencies to be nice. So that's my key X factor is the Chol top the kind of freakish athlete up front for the Lobos. But yeah, good team. I think it's in that kind of this is the right tier for them.
Yeah, I guess right here. I'm not expecting much, to be honest. I like Olin. I think he's a great coach. Masterful job building UC San Diego. But I'm not sure this is like the first year, right? It's a totally new roster. He does bring two role guys. You mentioned Hal. Albury Patton, JT Rock, to Javis Miller. That's not a horrible group, but I just don't think it's enough to get them into like a top 5 of the Mountain West without some serious coaching, which is possible. But again, there's a lot of good coaches in this league vying for those same spots. And I just think it's kind of a transition year for New Mexico as they go into year 2 of Olin, whatever the Mountain West looks like next season or whatever league it's going to be called. And then maybe that's when they take the leap.
Yeah, you need a lot to go right to really ascend. And there's a lot of like having to squint and say, if this guy does this, if this guy performs.
Yeah,
Like I think Haupt, the D2 transfer, is kind of fun to try to maybe make him like the new Aniwa Tate Jones, like booty ball
yeah.
distributing bigger wing forward. There's a chance they go for that, but is there shooting here? Like some of their key players didn't take a ton of shots from deep, and that was a huge part of UC San Diego's success. I'm a little concerned, and yeah, I think there's real downside if the talent level is just not quite up to snuff, despite really good coaching and smart coaching. And of course, he's got a key assistant, Allard, still at UC San Diego that he didn't get to bring with because he got the promotion to the big job. All right, next up, number 7, I have Colorado State. Speaking of promotion to the big job, that is Ali Farokhmanesh, Kai, a anti-Kansas hero in the annals of college basketball history. Man, it's an interesting transition. Medved was so good at so many places. He just continuously elevated this program. I like a couple players here. Like Pasquarelli's good. Rex Steiner makes sense as a Bowen Bourne replacement. But I have a hard time getting super excited about this team. Can you pitch me?
No, because I think they're pretty down as well. And yeah, Medved was great. So Farouk Mesh has been with him since Drake. So he's been with him for a long time, which is good. We hope that he carries on kind of Medved's coaching style, analytically sound basketball, offensive scheme. And I do like Mbembe and Jorgensen coming back. I think those are two solid returning pieces. The team just was way better last year than it had any right to be because Nick Clifford turned into an NBA guy out of nowhere. It was kind of a flash in the pan, I think, almost, Matthew, how good they were despite the talent. And this transfer class, it doesn't excite me. It's on the weaker side, in my opinion, for Mountain West. Pasquarelli's fine, but he's a Marist guy. Like, I don't know if he's going to be a great Mountain West player. Rex Steiner was a horrible team last year at Virginia Tech. Everyone else kind of meh. Kerry Booth was a 4-star, but he didn't really get on the floor for Illinois. He wasn't great at Notre Dame. I just think
Bad.
this team is
He is
down.
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This team's down. And I don't think they're sniffing, where they used to be under Medved, at least year 1.
Yeah, I think Colorado State, New Mexico are two. You're looking, you're betting on the coaches, right? That's sort of where you're putting your chips if you're bullish on them. Maybe making a push in the top 5, but I don't know. I kind of like this roster a little better than both of you because I love Bemba's so good. I just don't think he can play big minutes. It's just I don't like him being like a key focal point, but he is a really unique piece. I think people are undervaluing him talking about this team. He was kind of a key to the Rams' success. Kind of an undersized. David Roddy's that's an unfair comparison, Dave, but like kind of a thick fire hydrant-y, tough to guard, two-way player there. And Jorgensen's not bad either. I think he's got some pop long term. I don't know. I'm New Mexico, Colorado State, kind of same to me. A lot of unknown, a little more international diversity of the talent for Mexico. But I think two coaches I like. I think they're middle of the pack teams.
Yeah.
Fringe top 100 ish. I don't know what that translates to roughly. Maybe not. Maybe just outside.
I'll probably have him
NIT.
just outside. Yeah, I don't know. Matt, you talked about Bemba. I love him, but Crocker Johnson was really good. He's at Minnesota with Medved. Nick Clifford's in the NBA, and Matt, your boy, Kean
Kenny
Evans, is
Evans.
gone too. Like that's a lot of impact
And Bourne
winning
was really
type of
good too
impact.
last year. Bourne was really good when in his minutes. That like I think that team had a really unique click to it. Like depth really played up, and I don't know if this team has the same depth. I just don't think they have the same depth this season at all.
Yep, it's going to be a battle for him there. But hey, Farouk Manesh, wishing him the best because what a moment in college hoops with his dagger thrown against Kansas. All right, next up, the last team in this tier. You could put them fourth. You could really put them higher if you want. I don't know. It's a big shrug for me on Nevada. I have no idea what to expect with this team, Kai, and it's because the two players I like the most are from junior college and NAIA, and that is tough to square as they head to the Mountain West. Tyler Rollison didn't really have the breakout I anticipated he would have last year. I'm not sure Tayshawn Comer's like a big time winning player, but Lowry, the NAI transfer, I love. Weems, the JUCO scoring monster, 27 a game at Northern Idaho. I think he's a really solid piece. And there's, some size. Arma trading was good for Cal or for Riverside last year in Magpeo. Tell me what to think, Mr. McEwen, because I'm kind of a man of many minds with Nevada.
First of all, very fun that we have Tayshawn Comer and Leland Walker in the same league. Both started at Eastern Kentucky. Wow, what a cool thing. That guard tandem was supposed to be like
Yeah.
EKU's future, and they're gonna win every year. Uh, Really disappointing team last year. Matt mentioned it. Maybe there's some like chemistry issues because they were 8-12 in the Mountain West, which was not even close to what they were expecting. They were top 15 in experience, and I thought they were going to be awesome last year. Analytically, they ended up fine, and I think that's the Alford floor. I think he maintains a high floor. He's had one season outside the top 100 in 6 years at Nevada, but it's kind of rare that he flips his roster like this at Nevada. He usually has pretty good continuity, and he really only has Rollison back. And the transfers, much like other teams in this league, I'm just not that excited about because I agree Comer is fine. Evansville is not a great program. He was a decent recruit, but he's been at EKU in Evansville. I don't know much about Lowry from NIA. Jim, you mentioned he's your guy. Ween's top 10 JUCO guy. I don't know much about him. If those two guys are really good, sure, they have a chance. But I think this team is down, much like Colorado State, much like New Mexico.
I kind of like Nevada guys. I think there's some good I mean, Chuck Bailey and Tyler Rollison, I think those guys are much better than their stats showed. Just kind of caught behind the old graybeard NIL riffing team that kind of ruined last season. I mean, Alford he openly said, like, yeah, we had NIL issues. Like, this is why our team stunk. So, a couple things. They're playing 2 point guards, I think, with Rollison and Comer. I like that. I like the NAIA and JUCO dude. You guys talked about them. Weems and Lowry. And I think Camper's just a solid like wing athletic piece to kind of make it all fit. It's actually less depth, but the way that depth I think actually hurt this team last year, I'm weirdly in on it. So maybe I'm moving the goalpost to support my Nevada bullishness here, but I think it's a unique case where too much depth was actually a problem last season, and I think they have a better fit and some upside with the guys they have this year. Are they better than last year? I think they probably are just from a chemistry perspective.
Wow.
I think I might have them as a better team than last year. I do.
You've been down in Nevada for like 4 straight years, and now you like them.
No, I have a very polarizing. I think I went back and traced my Nevada.
You're
There's
always
one year I was
high or
really down
low
on
on
them.
Nevada.
Yeah, I have very strong stances on Nevada. Very strong opinions.
Some of the like really good teams, they had that identity of like giant point guard with Keenan Blackshear. They tried to do it with Kobe Sanders last year, it didn't work. Now they might play two smaller guys, like Matt said. I can see it actually working because we like dual point guard, multiple playmakers. But Matt, I'm not going to allow you to say Chuck Bailey is good. I can't do it.
I think he's a nice player.
Another Evansville guy.
Evansville, baby, had some
Matt,
talent.
he was horrendous last year.
Yeah, he
like
was bad last
unplayable.
year, I know. I think
So
there's guys who, when they are, I think they're good, and then they also have a shitty year in a low usage role, and then they get a chance to be high usage guys. I like betting on those guys because I think some dudes need rhythm and time. That's just
I
a
guess,
stubborn
but he was
opinion for
pretty
Bailey.
bad in the high usage role at Evansville too. Like,
I know he's
I don't
young
what
though.
to tell you.
I'm a talent guy, a pedigree guy
Okay.
here, Jim.
Okay. All right. All right. All right.
And we
I'll
don't we
allow it.
love Rollison? Rollison's awesome. He makes
I
some
just thought
crazy tough
Rollison would be
shots.
better last year. I
Yeah,
thought last year was like perfectly set up for the freshman to sophomore leap, and he kind of sputtered through it. But maybe you get a little post hype breakout because I did like the talent as a freshman.
I remember watching I bet minus, I think they were laying 8 or 10 to South Dakota State, which in hindsight was a really stupid bet. Like you would never bet that at the end of the season, but they made every ridiculous shot and I ended up covering that game. I was like, man, this team's just not that good. And then they kind of torpedoed. lately
Yeah.
after that. So
And to any Nevada fans listening, Rollison was a monster down the stretch. Like got into the starting lineup, played
awesome.
37
Yep.
minutes a game, and was like racking up assists, no turnovers. So if that's the version of him, that's like the talent that we saw as a freshman, and that's what he's going to bring forward. Then, yeah, that raises the ceiling a little bit too. And as Kai mentioned, Lowry and Weems, two guys that very big like swing factors because of their skill level and kind of what Nevada needs from scoring and a little front court playmaking from Lowry as well. All right, we're going to be a little quicker on the bottom four because I'm down on them. The bottom two, I'm like, I want to wash my eyes out. But we'll start with a little bit of hope in tier four, and that is Wyoming and San Jose State for me. Matthew, your boy Sundance Wicks, kind of putting the random roster together. It feels a little hodgepodgey collection of misfit toys to me, but you've got a big time junior college scorer. You've got, as Kai mentioned, the other part of that Eastern Kentucky backcourt, Leland Walker coming from Florida Atlantic. Jared Harris, a bench warmer at Memphis, a couple guys who played minutes on last year's team. There's just not a ton here for me, and Wyoming's a tough place to win. So, Matthew, you said you were a little higher on some of these lower teams. Is this one of them?
Yeah, I think in short, it's an athletic, dynamic backcourt. It's hard to say this backcourt's better than a backcourt that just lost Baylor guy.
Ogben.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Obi Abem. Yeah,
it's hard to make that case, but I do think there's more depth. But then I think as a lot of these rosters we talk about, there's just such a hard seesaw effect. Like we didn't have this last year. Now we have too much of this year, but then we don't have what we had last year. This team had some size last year. This year they have very little size. But I like Sundance Wicks. I like the guard depth. I think it's a more dynamic, athletic backer. They might be able to pressure some folks. It might be a little bit of a unique change of pace team to play against in this conference. We'll see how that works. But frankly, it was a little bit of a lackluster, underwhelming roster, as I've found with a lot of these kind of solid programs, but not great programs, just getting squeezed by the old dollar bill, Kai.
Yeah, I expected more from Wicks in year one, and maybe that was me. He did beat Kimpom preseason rank, but I had him even higher because I thought he did a great job at Green Bay. I think losing Abem is huge. He was Mountain West Newcomer of the Year, and this roster is not very good in my opinion. I don't like the transfer class outside of Walker. Maybe Harris is good. I'm sure he has pedigree coming from Memphis. The Rojas guy from JUCO, he averaged 25 points per game, but he played in like the lower JUCO league, I think.
Yeah,
yeah, it's like the
DT
California only league.
Yeah,
It's not.
and that means absolutely nothing to me. So I don't think much of this team at all. I have them in the same spot just because the bottom is so bad, but they are a clear tier below that top 8.
Yeah, if you wanted to put Timmy Miles ahead of them, I would not really be
They're
ready to
about the
stop
same
you.
for me.
I
Yeah,
agree.
about the
Yep,
same.
I have them. Let's see, I have them within a half point of each other. San Jose State. Let's Matt, unless you have any more to add on Wyoming. Nope. Okay. Yeah, Timmy Miles, San Jose State. Also a very similar like structure to Wyoming. We've got a couple pieces back from a not overly exciting team. Transfers, I mean, like Colby Garland is equivalent-ish to Leland Walker to me. A solid point guard, lead guard. The guy was at Drake on the NCAA tournament team as a freshman. Yafet Moody was a wildly productive per minute player for Iona, but why is he not playing more than 20 minutes for a bad Iona team? I can't really figure that out. I don't know, Kai. They also have a lot of variance to me, but that is more like could be decent or could be terrible versus could be good or could be bad. Like their median outcome is like right about here, 8th in the league.
I mean, yeah. Hey, he bounced back a little bit at least 10 miles last year, and you guys called it. I think Matt maybe led the charge the most, but 7 wins last year in the Mountain West was respectable, and Miles has outperformed 3 or 4 years here because, of course, he is. He's a good coach, but it's a hard job to win at in this league. Unfortunately, I don't think much of the returners, Washington and Nganga. I don't know how to say his last name, but it's spelled like that. Their transfers are guys who are not the best players or even close at Longwood, Western Michigan, Iona, and Mercer, and then a guy who didn't play for Mississippi State. I don't see anything in this roster.
Oh, I think they're better than that. They're a little better than that.
They are worse than
Here's why I'm bummed.
They are worse than last year.
It's tough
Probably.
to fight that.
Yeah, damn it. Okay.
Uduye and Yap were both like good proven Mountain West players before they
Linden?
got there.
Losing Davis to San Diego State is such a bummer. Like, Dutcher, you're such an evil rat. Just let Miles keep Davis. Davis was fun. Davis absolutely torched you in like all three of those games where San Jose State was up like 20 points in the first half, and then San Diego State's like, okay, this is over. And they just did like the 22, we're going to press you and out athlete you blitz thing. That's what bummed me. I was like, man, you had Davis back. I could kind of get behind this backcourt. Maybe some of these bigs are undervalued, but I think the front court was where Miles has had a good. He's had some real success when he's had a legit big guy who could protect the rim because they're not super athletic. They don't defend great on the perimeter. They need like some sort of back safety net, and I don't know if they have that this year. And they also got Josh Aduje, who was like an awesome pickup as we talked about last summer. Turns out he was critical. I don't think they have that kind of like true alpha guy that is proven really, really good. So yeah, they're probably worse than last year, which bums me out. But man, I'm so pissed Davis left.
It's really
Good.
sticking in Matthew's craw.
McClendon
He went to
transferred
the
too.
ass like,
I mean, they had a lot of transfers, unfortunately. They just don't
that was
have
the one where it's
NIL.
like that's a freshman that Miles bought low on, brought him in, gave him a ton of time, like the true like development, and then he just gets no recourse for all that for those
Yeah,
labors. No
I
fruit
was
for
I
those
was a
labors.
Viola fan, like monster
Yeah.
rebounder, wide body type, and now he's in the Big Ten after like San Jose State helped him back from the knee injury that he missed the whole season. And yeah, kind of like Matt said, it's a cruel world out there for patient coaches like that. All right, down to the dregs. The just wolf tier. I am not excited at all to see them play. Starting with Fresno State, where like, sure, if I squint real hard, I see that Jake Heidbreder could be an awesome scorer in this league after time in the ACC, and Zayon Collins was a former like top 50 recruit before he killed a guy. Yes, that's true. Sadly, Cameron Foss is a nice shooter from Kansas City. But man, the bench is like, holy God, bad. And this is a coach, Kai, who wants to play up and down and use his bench and get the possession count up there. And he's on a 2-year contract. This is year two. I don't think the administration has faith in him. They just kind of wanted to restart the clock for a search. I think this is something that goes downhill fast and results in a firing.
Yeah, we called Wahlberg a bad hire when it started. He's the father of the dribble drive motion offense, by the way, if you guys weren't aware.
The daddy,
He like made
indeed.
it. He's never been a successful head coach, really, at least in the D1 level. And they were bad last year. 2-18 against the Mountain West. They didn't function. I don't know if Aguiar, who was their best player by a mile, was he a locker room cancer? Because it
Yes.
seems like Wahlberg just didn't like the guy. And yeah, maybe there was some like attitude because he was awesome. Like the best JUCO player in the country. Now he's at I don't even know. I forgot where he
Milwaukee, I think.
Milwaukee. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, get Collins back. Heidbreder was an all Mountain West player at Air Force, so I think he's pretty good. But I don't know about the rest. Foss, Matt's boy from UMKC is okay.
Mm-hmm.
Monty from UC Davis. But there's just so many freshmen. This team is so young.
They could get brutalized defensively. Like
Yeah.
they could be terrible defensively.
They're definitely better than Air Force, at least on paper. But that's it in this league.
Yeah, Jim, I think they're a lot better than Air Force. I'm
Yeah,
not high on
I think
Fresno.
little tier above, actually.
But it's a lot of the freshmen are international guys who I think are older. Like, they're not like 18-year-old, 17, like they're 20, 21-year-olds. I think this is to Jim's point, defensively could be a problem. They weren't, they're actually okay, not good defensively last year. They were better defensively than they were offensively. They kind of played some zone and they had some athletes. This year, they're much more skill-based. So Collins is going to have to like set all these guys up because like Jake Highbetter's not creating shots. Cam Foss ain't creating shots. These international guys probably aren't either. They're probably making shots, but someone's got to get it to them, and they got to figure out a way to play some defense. I think there's enough bullets in the chamber to finish clearly above Air Force to me. But I don't know. Maybe I'm.
Got him
I'm
by a
drinking
game
some of
last year.
I mean, I'm drinking the Euro Kool-Aid too much.
Will they win more or less than 3.5 Mountain West games?
I got 4. I think I got 4 in them.
Wow.
Yeah, I do. I got 4. Save Mart Center is weird, man. You go in there, kind of a
Solid.
cavernous,
Not mine.
vacant place. Weird stuff happens. The rims are like messed up. I think they get 4.
Kai, I will lock up that Air Force wins less than 3.5 games as we transition to the final team in the
Yeah.
league. I posited earlier in the pod that this might be one of the worst Mountain West rosters ever, and it just kind of is. Like, you can't replenish via the transfer portal when you're a service academy, but you can lose guys, and Luke Kearney was an actual important contributor. and they lost a ton to graduation too. And that team went 1-19 in the conference. So like you're gonna have to really sell me on the rookies, the freshmen who aren't even on the official roster on the website yet. The only reason I know their names is because Blue Ribbon is out at this point. They need a lot of production from them because they've got like three contributors last year and a bunch of nobodies. And man, it's really, really ugly, Kai. I don't know how to even like give a mildly excited stance. They're like a lock outside the top 300 to me.
Last year was really disappointing. They had top 70 continuity, and they were ranked like right outside the top 200 in KenPom preseason. And Joe Scott, I think, is a good coach, and he's proven he can win here with less talent. And they just crapped the bed. They finished 100 spots below where the preseason was. You mentioned 119 in the Mountain West. It's just hard to win here, and now those guys are gone. You got 3 partial starters back. None of them were stars. Chelikowski's not good, the big guy that they start. I had high hopes for him, but I think it's a really bad year again. It's young. I think the talent is lacking unless these freshmen are somehow good out of nowhere. They always find 1 or 2 guys that end up starting and leading their team and scoring, like an Ethan Taylor type. But yeah, I'm down. They're clearly the worst team for me in this league.
It's funny. They're always like a little better than their record, but still pretty bad. Um, they're good for a few. Like, whoa, look, that's what
Not,
sucks about the Mountain West is because you
oh,
can't
well,
lose.
they beat
You can't
Jacksonville
lose
State
to Air
last year,
Force.
Matt. There's
Yep.
their one last year. Yeah.
And they beat New
Yeah.
Mexico the year before that, I
Yeah.
believe.
In,
At
in
the
between
pit.
losing it home to LIU and home to Sacramento
Right.
State. Like, ooh.
Air Force is a bad fit for this league because this is like the landmine team you don't want to lose to because this losing to Air Force is what ruins your at-large resume for the top dogs, and they are well coached enough and feisty enough where any given night they might catch you. But yeah, this team is bad, Jim. Maybe the young guys, maybe a reset's what this team needs. I feel like just last year's core kind of fizzled out, but man, you just don't know what you got with the young guys. And I feel like this is a military program. I think time to bake is a valued currency and that other schools just don't have. So
Yeah. Yeah. As you mentioned, like they're feisty. They're so unconventional stylistically with like the slow down Princeton, sometimes zone defensively that, yeah, if you're not totally locked in, they're going to give you a scare. But they didn't beat anybody besides Fresno at home in overtime last year. That was the best they got. They did take San Diego State to overtime, so they could provide that spook, but yeah, I think they're destined and doomed to be at the bottom in the cellar of this conference, sadly,
it's
but
just
true.
they always turn it over and they don't crash the off like so the possession they're always taking like 12 shots less than their opponents. So like they have to
Yeah.
shoot like 50% from 3 and now they try to be unorthodox with like their backdoor cuts, but that sort of shoots them in the foot because they give away some possessions where it's like you'd rather have Ethan Taylor just shoot a 25-footer than throw it away. Like
It's
that you have a
a
better chance.
it's a
I don't
good
know.
point, Matt. Yeah, you can't be bottom 20 in turnover rate, offensive rebounding rate, and pace.
A lot of it's just talent.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be style, but I mean, most of it is just talent. Let's just be honest.
Yep. All right, how many teams make the NCAA tournament, Kai? As I mentioned, 4, 6, 4,
Boy,
4, the last 4 seasons. I really have to squint to get to 4. I'm gonna say 3, and that I
yeah.
feel like I'm kind of being generous. Like my San Diego State, one team from that high floor tier, and then one team steps up from the Grand Canyon, um, who else? UNLV kind of tier.
I guess I'll say 3, but I'm leaning pretty hard too.
2.5's a good line. I was
Two
gonna say I
two and
almost
a
said
half's a
2
good
as
line.
well.
Honest, yeah, it is because the Big Ten's a lot better this year. They're getting a lot of bids. I know the SEC's not going to get 14 bids, 14 teams in this year, but ACC's better. Yeah, I think 2 or 3 is the right answer right now.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the decks being stacked against the like you get down from the power four that you're gonna have a fringe bubble team like Utah State's gonna be left out in favor of I don't know uh
Like bad
insert
Big
big
East team. I don't
yeah
know.
or a bad Big Ten team right
But
or like a Texas last year. It's just like that we're gonna see more and more of that happening unfortunately.
if they win
So
15 league games again, I mean, maybe they're in. I don't know.
Yeah,
yeah, but then they also
Boise
have to
was that
do work
example
in
last
the
year.
Yeah.
Like they
because
won
they were kind of a
14 league
bubblish team, right,
games.
last year, and they won
Yep.
that MTE. I mean, they won at St. Mary's for God's sakes. Like
Yeah.
this team should
Beat
have been safe. I mean,
Clemson.
Utah State. I know they kind of crashed late, but like the fact that they had that good of like a first 3 months of the year and like we're barely on the 10-11 seed line just kind of shows you the margin for error is not very pretty thin here.
Yep. All right, that's it for the Mountain West preview, Kyle. Let's hit our couple of reviews before we send the people on their way for a wonderful weekend.
Two good reviews today, fellas. Excited about it. Mikey Pot Pie is back. Carousel or buy? Very clever. Okay, he says your guy Mikey Pot Pie is back. Yes, yes. He comes bearing questions on who some programs he follows should hire. His team is St. Joe's. His beloved Immortal Hawks had Billy Lang. We talked about that last week. With his decision to walk away, which he's pretty much happy about, assuming we don't stick with Donahue for more than a year, who do you guys think would be a good hire? So he mentions Joe Gallo from Merrimack, Luke Murray from UConn, but who do you think would be a good fit? The follow-up to that is he also has Providence fans, and if they're in the market for a coach this coming off season, who do you guys like is his question. He mentions Josh Schertz, Chris Mack. He says he has his eyes on Pat Scarry, a former Providence
I like
assistant,
Scary.
and a man who said Providence is his dream job. He says, what do you guys think? So, Jim, St. Joe's and Providence are the two questions for coaching vacancies in our hypothetical situation here.
Yeah, really good names. I think that he submitted with Gallo. Like, I just think that guy's a winner, plays unconventionally. People really admire the way he zones. It's different than basically everybody else, and I think that works at this stage of of college basketball. Luke Murray also. Just pluck a UConn assistant at some point. Somebody, please. I want to see it happen. I think those guys have the tools to be really good coaches, him and Kamani Young. I would also submit adding the L to Lang and taking Matt Langle from
Yeah,
Colgate.
yeah.
I think that is a potentially good alternative. Might be tough to sell given that last year didn't go well, and I don't know exactly how well this year is going to go. But I think that guy's a really good coach, and if you move him from the Patriot world, give him a little bit more access to talent, both via portal and recruiting, he's just such a smart guy that I think Langle will be a winning coach. For UConn, or excuse me, for Providence, yes, I think Mac and Shirts like take a swing. I don't know if you'd be able to pry Shirts away because SLU actually is pretty well resourced, but maybe he just wants a Power Five job. Also think they should look at the UConn assistants,
Yep.
and they could also try hiring the good George Mason coach, Tony Skinn.
I agree.
That's
Tony,
something else.
Jim, I had Scan and Scary written down. I love Scary.
Wow.
Um, Scary, and then back to Langle. I think that's the obvious one. I think all the Philadelphia openings, Langle's name comes up and should. Hiring a coach that's off his, not a down, I would say a down. I guess it was kind of a down year, but like we don't always have to hire good coaches after like they hit a home run. Like you can clearly look at Matt Langle and say that's a good coach. He didn't just all of a sudden become a bad coach last year. Like the
Yeah.
players on the floor matter. So I think you can maybe. Um, Not that you're trying to save money or find like a diamond in the rough if you're Providence, but I do think there is some overlooked coaches who just simply are not like pointing to the moon in their sky and their trajectory. Like Scary's a great example. I mean, I think he's been awesome the last few years, but like his best year was probably a couple years ago, not last season. And they just lost early in the one and done tournament. Like I think Scary's a great coach. I think he either him or Skin would be good hires for Providence. Maybe it sounds like Scary's punch him on his weight class. I think Scary with talent would be really good. He just hasn't had much at freaking
I'm
Towson.
I'm I'm curious how that would go at Providence. Like, oh, long time
Horrible.
mid major coach who's never made the NCAA
Horrible.
tournament. I can't imagine the fan base is pumped about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's dumb. Well, the fan base are dumb. I think Scary would do a nice job.
No,
there.
no
I really
offense to Pat Scary. There's no chance in hell that he gets Providence.
do. Do you think he'd do a good job there if he did though?
No, not really. His style is
Wow.
not. It's not. It's crash
It's a
the
little more
glass.
like-
It's ugly.
yeah.
I don't.
I
Think
know, but you don't have big money. You don't have like
Can he play
crazy Providence money.
buzzball?
Like
Can he play buzzball at
He's
Providence?
55 years old. I don't think it's his job. Unfortunately, and I like Pat Scary. He's a really nice guy. But I think Chris Mack's not a bad choice at Providence. He's got some shit to him. He's been around the Power Five. Maybe he's friends with Patino since they both coached at Louisville. I don't know. But the UConn assistants are the answer. I think I would go with for Providence. I would take Young or Murray. And then St. Joe's obviously Langle for me. But I do think, hey, Joe Gallo's a pretty good out of the box guy. But again, how does his gimmick zone transfer up? Maybe it does well, but I don't know if he can play a different way with different styles. That would scare me as a hiring guy.
Yeah. Would you guys be at all interested in like if Martelli has one good year at VCU, like letting him like do the
Providence?
leapfrog or
Yeah.
kind of skip scale right up, or for Providence as well. If Caputo has a good year, I'm a little skeptical myself, but like if he has a big one with this roster, I don't know.
Not for me, at least.
Okay. All right.
Okay, second, good discussion. Second, thank you, Mikey Pot Pie. Next review, Davidson Mildcat. A10 Mildcats is the title. Loves the show. Very glad he checked it out this summer. Great compliments to Norlander and GP. Appreciate it. He says, as a Davidson grad, I was indeed howling at my phone this week when I realized you guys completely forgot
Deserved.
completely
Deserved.
forgot Davidson. Thought maybe it was an elaborate prank. But he says, more to the point, I wasn't really surprised to keep hearing teams brought up before the Cats, as I assume they're just not that good every year since the coaching change. So, question, he says, what's it going to take for a tiny, close-knit school like Davidson to fire a coach like Matt McKillop, who has such an emotional connection to our only period of sustained success in their program history? How other schools successfully navigated this tricky situation? He says he's got to go. The examples I think of are not very amicable, Jim, like Patrick Ewing in Georgetown. Brian Mullins was shown the door unceremoniously
Chris
at Southern
Mullen. Chris
Illinois.
Mullen. Oh, Chris Mullen at St. John's. I
Brian
was
Mullins,
thinking
yeah,
also.
yeah, and Chris
Yeah.
Mullen at St. John's. Yeah, I mean, I don't think the breakups work out too well, and I do think it has to change. But this is a really weird situation because McKillop is a coach and
It's
his
like
dad was a
literal
coach. And
family.
he's been there for 30 years, whatever it is. Yeah,
Yeah, like Pat Knight taking over for Bobby Knight. There wasn't the same emotional connection at Texas Tech, but that was like, all right, we need to move on. I'm thinking about this. This could be a similar trajectory to Davenport at Bellarmine. I don't know how that one's going to go, but the hand me down to the Sun, it just makes me a little nervous. Obviously, this hasn't worked out. It's like sometimes the master, like Jay Wright, is such a good teacher. Bob McKillop was such a good teacher that that doesn't fully translate onto the next generation. And yeah, I think one more year, I would bet they give him two out of respect. But if they're the same as they've been, I think Davidson, especially with like we have to capitalize on this Steph Curry momentum while we have it. We've got to stay relevant and try to capture that. I could see them moving somewhat quickly, Matt.
I'm curious how the Steph Curry is. I know that we talked about that before, his assistant GM thing. Like, you just need his money, really. You need his cachet to get money. And I think if you can keep him, if there's if there's a very close affinity with Curry and McKillop staying around, and maybe Curry has a windfall of money that comes in, and you actually get some talent. That's my only case really for keeping McKillop around for like multiple years to see that play out. Otherwise, I think you're right. I think if you're a Davidson fan, you're hoping this year goes poorly, so you can start fresh and anew with the reset.
Yeah,
But
if you can retain Curry's financial, then
yeah,
yeah, you can
because
move.
I think
May I
there
have
is a
some?
real bond there because I mean him and his dad are like super tight, but Curry just has so much going on. Like, in the like I just don't. When I saw, it, I was like, oh wow, Davidson's going to be in for a big windfall of money, and like when it's like on the roster, it's like okay, and it wasn't this year. Clearly, maybe it's next year, and I don't know. But that's the only case for me. It's like Steph Curry is kind of a weak, fickle argument to defend Matt McKillop, but there could be something there with what upside his involvement could bring if he is actually involved.
May I submit a name? See what you guys think. What about
Leonard.
Bob Ritchie?
I think he likes Furman too much. I thought about this. Richie every year is like, oh, Richie, and like,
he
and
wants
then I saw
Clemson.
Richie given the tour of the new Furman facility just opened up. I just think he absolutely loves Furman and is fine being the best in that league every year. Like he knows he
Yeah,
can be at the top of the league every year and has a chance to go to the tournament. I just think he's content. I
Clemson. Would
agree.
he
I think he'd be a
take?
great hire.
I think he like if he took Charleston, I think he'd rock. Like
Yeah.
if Chris Mack left, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's fit with the persona and the psyche and the demeanor of Richie with Davidson. Like I
I
could
agree
see that
He's
totally.
being.
he's a South Carolina guy, Jim, not a North Carolina guy.
You won't cross the border.
He
All
won't
right,
cross
fair.
that border.
Okay. All right. Well, that's
That's
it.
it.
That's all the reviews. Thank you for those very good questions. Got us really thinking and discussing at the end of this show. So thank you everybody for tuning in. That was the Mountain West preview. We will kick off Power 5 previews next week, likely back here on Friday morning. Excited to talk to you about the big boys and give you real takes, maybe some board bets, some bold predictions, and we like when we predict certain numbers for guys like 3-point percentage or where they finish in Ken Palm, etc. So we'll dial that in. Please come back and tune in for it. We'll see you then. But thank you for stopping by and have a great weekend.